Salvatore Mineo Jr. was born on January 10, 1939, in the Bronx, New York, into a working-class Sicilian immigrant family. Growing up in a crowded household shaped by financial struggle and strong cultural ties, he developed an early sensitivity and emotional expressiveness that would later define his acting style. His mother encouraged his artistic inclinations, and Mineo gravitated toward performance almost instinctively. By his pre-teen years, he was already auditioning for stage roles, showing a rare combination of discipline and natural charisma. His breakthrough into professional theater came astonishingly early. At just 10 years old, he appeared in Broadway productions, including a role in The King and I, performing alongside major stars of the era. This exposure to high-level stagecraft gave him not only technical training but also an understanding of the emotional intensity required in live performance. Unlike many child actors who fade quickly, Mineo demonstrated a seriousness about craft that set him apart and laid the foundation for a rapid ascent into film. Broadway beginnings and the path toward Hollywood. Mineo's early stage success opened doors in television and small film roles, where casting directors were immediately struck by his emotional depth and expressive face. During the early 1950s, he worked steadily, refining his ability to portray vulnerable, conflicted youth characters. His performances carried a maturity that contrasted with his age, making him a standout among other child and teenage actors of the period. Hollywood during this time was actively searching for fresh faces who could embody the complexities of post-war American youth. Mineo's theatrical background gave him an advantage in auditions, and his natural intensity translated well on screen. Though still young, he was already being positioned for larger roles. By mid-decade, it became clear that he was on the verge of a breakthrough, with industry insiders noting his rare combination of emotional intelligence and screen presence. Breakthrough with Rebel Without a Cause. The defining moment of Mineo's career came in 1955 when he was cast as Plato in Rebel Without a Cause. The film, starring James Dean, became a cultural milestone, capturing teenage alienation and emotional instability with unprecedented honesty. Mineo's portrayal of Plato, a lonely and troubled teenager seeking affection and identity, was widely praised for its vulnerability and authenticity. His chemistry with Dean and Natalie Wood created some of the film's most enduring emotional moments. Plato's tragic arc left a lasting impression on audiences, and Mineo received an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor, becoming one of the youngest nominees in Oscar history at the time. The role permanently associated him with sensitive, emotionally complex characters and established him as one of Hollywood's most promising young actors. Critical acclaim and 1950s film career. Following Rebel Without a Cause, Mineo quickly became one of the most recognizable young actors in Hollywood. He appeared in a series of major films, including Giant, 1956, Crime in the Streets, 1956, and The Gene Krupa Story, 1959. Each role reinforced his reputation for portraying emotionally intense, often troubled characters. In 1960, he received another Academy Award nomination for his performance in Exodus, where he played a Holocaust survivor struggling with trauma and identity. This role demonstrated his ability to transition from teenage roles into more mature, politically charged material. Despite his critical success, however, Hollywood's tendency to typecast him began to limit the diversity of roles available, particularly as he aged out of adolescent characters. Typecasting, identity, and industry pressures. As Mineo entered adulthood, his career became increasingly constrained by Hollywood stereotypes. The sensitive, vulnerable persona that had made him famous also restricted him, as studios struggled to place him in traditionally masculine leading roles. At the same time, rumors about his personal life and sexuality circulated within the industry, adding further complexity to his professional trajectory in a conservative era. Mineo lived in a time when openly discussing sexuality could end careers, and although he maintained privacy publicly, those close to him understood that he resisted rigid labels. These pressures influenced both his career choices and his gradual move toward more independent and stage-based work. Rather than disappearing from the industry, he began redefining his artistic identity outside mainstream Hollywood expectations. Reinvention through theater and directing. By the late 1960s and early 1970s, Mineo shifted his focus toward theater, where he found greater creative freedom. He became involved in directing and performing in stage productions that dealt with controversial and emotionally complex subjects. One of the most notable was Fortune in Men's Eyes, a play exploring prison life and sexuality, which reflected his willingness to engage with challenging material. This period represented a reinvention of his artistic identity. Rather than relying on Hollywood studios, Mineo embraced smaller, riskier productions that allowed him to shape narratives more directly. His work in theater demonstrated that his talent extended beyond acting into direction and interpretation, reinforcing his reputation as a serious artist rather than a former teen idol. Television roles and artistic experimentation. During the mid-1970s, Mineo began appearing in television roles that reflected darker, more mature themes. He took guest parts in series such as Columbo and S.W.A.T., where he portrayed morally complex or psychologically unstable characters. These performances reminded audiences of his earlier emotional intensity while showcasing his continued evolution as an actor. One particularly notable appearance was in Columbo, A Case of Immunity, where he played a politically charged supporting role in a story involving diplomatic tension. These roles, though smaller than his film work in the 1950s, allowed him to demonstrate range and adaptability. At the same time, he continued to pursue stage work, seeking artistic fulfillment beyond television and film. Personal relationships and emotional complexity. Mineo's personal life was often as complex as his professional one. During the filming of Exodus, he formed a close bond with actress Jill Haworth. Their relationship was emotionally intense and long-lasting, though marked by periods of separation and reconciliation. At one point, they were even engaged, reflecting a deep but complicated connection shaped by the pressures of early fame. According to biographical accounts, the engagement eventually ended amid personal revelations and emotional strain. Despite this, Haworth and Mineo remained close friends for years, demonstrating a bond that extended beyond romance. His protective nature toward her in later years further illustrated his emotional intensity and deep capacity for loyalty in personal relationships. Final stage work and career resurgence. In the mid-1970s, Mineo experienced a modest resurgence in popularity through stage performances, particularly in P.S. Your Cat is Dead. The play, a dark comedy dealing with sexuality and crime, gave him an opportunity to explore bold material that reflected changing social attitudes. Critics praised his performance, noting a renewed vitality in his stage presence. This period represented what many viewed as a creative rebirth. Mineo relocated with the production to Los Angeles, hoping to re-establish himself in the entertainment industry. For the first time in years, he seemed to be regaining momentum, combining critical respect with renewed audience interest. However, this upward trajectory would be abruptly cut short. The night of his death in 1976. On February 12, 1976, Sal Mineo was returning home to his apartment in West Hollywood after attending a rehearsal for P.S. Your Cat is Dead. As he exited his vehicle and walked toward his residence, he was attacked in a nearby alley. He was stabbed in the heart and died at the scene, shocking the entertainment world. The brutality and randomness of the attack immediately raised questions. Early speculation ranged from robbery to hate crime, as well as concerns about whether the attack was targeted or accidental. The lack of immediate answers contributed to widespread public fascination and concern, as one of Hollywood's most recognizable former stars had been killed under deeply mysterious circumstances. Investigation, arrest, and conviction. The investigation into Mineo's murder initially produced few solid leads. Witness accounts were inconsistent, and forensic technology of the time limited what could be conclusively determined. Eventually, in 1979, Lionel Ray Williams was arrested in connection with the case during an unrelated investigation. He was later convicted and sentenced to a lengthy prison term. Authorities stated that testimony and circumstantial evidence linked him to the crime, though debate persisted about motive, since Mineo's belongings were reportedly not taken. This detail fueled ongoing questions about whether robbery was truly the primary motive, or whether other factors might have been involved. Despite the conviction, the case never fully settled public curiosity. Lingering questions, reopened files, and legacy, decades later. Renewed interest in the case emerged after references to previously reviewed or partially released documents suggested inconsistencies in the original investigation. Some interpretations of these materials proposed alternative theories, including the possibility of overlooked leads or misinterpreted evidence. However, many of these claims remain speculative and have not been conclusively verified. What remains undisputed is Mineo's cultural and artistic legacy. He is remembered as a pioneering actor who brought emotional honesty to Hollywood at a time